There is a bathroom scale in my house that I have not stood on in about 2 years. It sits in the corner, gathering a soft gray dust, and now and then I look at it the way you look at an old argument you finally decided not to have anymore. For most of my life, that little scale had a vote in how my whole day was going to go. Not anymore. My name is George. I am 82 years old, and I spent 50 years as the only doctor for one small town, about 900 people, the kind of place where the gas station and the church shared a parking lot. In all those years, I sat with more than 1,000 people in the last hours of their lives. And somewhere in there, slowly, without me noticing the day it happened, I quietly set down a whole list of things I used to lose sleep over. Let me tell you the 7 biggest ones. Not as your doctor, just as an old man who has watched too many people spend their one short life afraid of the wrong things. The first thing I stopped worrying about is the number on that scale. For years, I treated it like a report card. A few pounds up, and I felt like I had failed some test. But I will tell you what 50 years of standing at bedsides taught me. I have lost count of the thin, trim people who came to me proud of their weight and frightened of everything else, and went early anyway. And I knew a heavy old farmer named Cal, a man every chart would have scolded, who could still throw a hay bale up onto a wagon at 70, and who outlived 2 of the doctors who warned him. What I watch in a person now is not the weight. It is whether they can get up out of a low chair without using their hands. It is whether they can carry their own groceries up the porch steps. Strength is the thing that keeps you in your own home and out of mine. That number on the scale never once told me who was going to live well. So I let it go, and the dust came in. The second thing I stopped worrying about is getting a perfect night of sleep. There was a stretch in my 60s where I would wake at 3 in the morning and lie there doing arithmetic on my own rest. 5 hours. If I fall asleep this minute, 5 hours and 20 minutes. And of course, the arithmetic was the very thing keeping me awake. I had patients so frightened of one bad night that the fear cost them more sleep than the bad night ever could. Here is what I believe now. A body that is truly tired will sleep. Maybe not on your schedule, maybe in 2 pieces with a trip down the hall in the middle, but it takes what it needs. I stopped chasing 8 perfect hours like it was a train I was about to miss. I go to bed when I am tired. If I wake, I read a few pages and let my eyes get heavy on their own. The worst nights I have now are the nights I lie there worrying about the night. So I quit. The third thing I stopped worrying about is every little ache and pain. Now, I want to be careful here, because there are aches you should never wave off. And you know the kind I mean, the sudden ones, the ones with a fist in them. I am not talking about those. I am talking about the daily weather of an old body. At 82, something hurts every single morning. A knee, a shoulder, the small of my back when the rain is coming. There was a time a new twinge would march my mind straight to the worst page of the textbook. Now I have learned the difference between a body that is breaking and a body that is only talking. Most mornings, it is only talking. The house I live in is old too, and it creaks and pops all night long. And I do not call a builder every time a board settles. I have finally learned to give my own old frame the same patience I give the floorboards. The fourth thing I stopped worrying about is eating perfectly. 50 years I watched the miracle food change every spring like the fashion in hats. Eggs were poison, Then eggs were medicine. Butter was the devil. Then butter came home forgiven. Coffee was going to kill us all, and now they tell me it might be the thing saving us. I have outlived nearly every diet that was ever sold to me as the final answer. So I quit trying to eat like a science experiment. I have plain oats in the morning, cooked slow, with a handful of walnuts and whatever fruit the season hands me. I eat real food, mostly the kind my grandmother would have recognized on sight, and I stop before I am stuffed. And then, now and again, I eat a piece of pie, because a friend made it, and she is 80 herself, and we are sitting in the sun with nowhere to be. The pie is not the thing that is going to get me. The worry just might. The fifth thing I stopped worrying about is living a long time. I know that is a strange thing to hear from a doctor. We are supposed to be in the business of more years. But I have stood at the foot of too many beds where the years were the cruelest part of it. I have watched people kept going long past the point where there was any living left in it, a machine breathing for a body that had already set down its work. I do not want a tall stack of empty years. I want good days. A morning I can walk to the mailbox and name the birds out loud. An evening with strong coffee and the kind notes you good people leave me. I stopped counting how many years might be out ahead of me, and I started paying attention to the one Tuesday I am actually standing in. A short life that was truly lived will beat a long one spent in the waiting room every time. The sixth thing I stopped worrying about is what the next test is going to find. Do not mishear me. I am a doctor. I still go. I still let them look, and so should you. But I used to carry the waiting like a cold stone in my coat pocket. The days between the test and the result, I would live them already half sick with the thing I did not even have yet. There was a woman named Verna who came to me every season, certain that this was the visit where I would find the end of her. She spent 30 good years dreading a verdict that never came, and the truth is, she frightened herself out of more living than any illness ever took from her. The ones whose news did turn out bad, the worry had not softened a single day of it. It had only robbed the good days they still had on the way there. So now I do the sensible thing. I show up, I let them look, and then I go on living until somebody tells me otherwise. The worrying never once changed the answer. And the seventh thing, the big one, the one all the others were really standing in front of. I stopped worrying about dying. I know how that lands from a man my age, but I have sat with more than 1,000 people in their last hours, in quiet rooms all over this county, holding a hand while a radiator knocked in the corner. And I will tell you what I learned in that old brown chair. The ones who went hardest were almost never the sickest. They were the ones with a drawer full of things they never said, and a calendar full of some days they never spent. They were not afraid of death. They were grieving a life they had been too busy or too scared to actually live. There was a man named Roy, 88, who went so peaceful it did not seem fair. I asked him once if he was frightened, and he said, "No, Doc. I said what I had to say, and I danced when there was music." The ones who went easy were hardly ever the healthy ones. They were the ones who had made their peace. My Helen used to turn up the little plastic radio on the kitchen counter and hold out her hand for a dance while the supper was cooking. And too many nights I said, "Not now, Helen. I am tired. I have a call to make." She has been gone about 6 years now. I would hand back every worry on this whole list for one more of those "not now" turned into a "yes." So that is the thing I finally understood. Too late to tell her, and just in time to tell you. I was never really afraid of dying. I was afraid of reaching the end and finding out I had forgotten to live. The worrying does not buy you a single extra day. It just quietly spends the ones you already have. So if you are younger than me, and most of the world is, do not wait until you are 82 to set that scale down. Pick one thing off this list, the one that sat on your chest while I was talking, and just put it down for today. Go take your walk. Eat the pie. Make the call you keep meaning to make. Turn up the radio. Tell me down in the comments which of the 7 has been stealing your good days. I read them in the evenings with my coffee, and I answer when I can. And if this was worth your time, pull up a chair and stay a while. I keep my table set for more than 2. One last thing, because I mean it. I am a retired country doctor telling you stories from a long life, not your physician. Nothing I said here is medical advice for you. If something in your body is frightening you, go and see the live doctor in the room, the one who can examine you, and go soon. This was a dramatization made to share the kind of lessons that only a long life seems to teach.